following is an exclusive presentation of Jessup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country Radio. The time now is 7:59. And Bob, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, better turn that down a little bit lower. Oh, yeah, get headphones a little high there. All right, here we are on this Monday morning. It is Martin Luther King holiday. A lot of folks have off today, a national holiday. Government offices closed, Bob, banks, things of that sort, right?
Yeah, banks closed, schools closed. We're the only ones working. No, we're here.
They were working in hurricanes this morning because I stopped by and got me a breakfast biscuit. I know the hurricanes is open, but I don't know about anybody else. It just seems like, that a lot of folks have off this morning. Not much traffic out there this morning. We just hope everybody enjoys their day. Keep it tuned in to 105.5 FM. We'll keep you entertained with the best in country music, along with the latest news, sports, weather, and information. We're waiting for State Representative Steven Meeks to call in just a moment here. And he will call in and be on the air to talk about what's going on in the state legislature. They were there last week, and they'll start back with their second week tomorrow, I assume, because I'm sure all of them have off this morning, right?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure if they have off today or not? Sure. But we do have State Representative Steven Meeks calling in just a moment.
I made contact with him yesterday, asked him if he's definitely calling in. He said he's calling in, so there he is.
There he is. And so, Bob, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the air with him. Go ahead and say hi to him as soon as I pick up the phone, all right?
Look it up. Steven Meeks, how you doing today?
Good morning, sir. I'm well. How are y'all?
Good. Appreciate you calling in on this holiday. Or is the session in session today, or do y'all have the holiday?
We are not. No, sir. We're in recess this week for budget hearings.
Okay. Well, I got to ask you: have you been around the Capitol at all today? I mean, got the reports over the weekend. They've got it surrounded like Fort Knox, is what I understand.
No, sir. We adjourned Thursday, and I left Atlanta then. But security was very much beginning to tighten last week around the Capitol with a greater presence of Georgia State Patrol and Georgia State Patrol SWAT teams, armored vehicles around the Capitol at that time. And the Capitol grounds is in disarray at this time. They're in the process of constructing a fence around the Capitol, so I guess it's kind of a mess right now with the grass torn up and construction equipment on site, and Georgia State Patrol cars parked closer to the building than usual, but a much greater security presence of law enforcement last week during session, and as I understand it, that grew over the weekend in preparation for this week.
Stephen, how concerned are y'all for your safety? Is it something that y'all just don't think much about? I know it's now hard not to think about with all that security stuff going on, but is it something you're really worried about, or what?
Well, I think it's something that's always in our minds. We're going about our daily life and in the world of legislating in Atlanta, and we're always cognizant of when you're walking across the street from the office building as to how many law enforcement are there. But I personally feel safe and just cognizant of our surroundings, and with the greater presence of law enforcement. We appreciate what they're doing to ensure our safety there if we were to have an issue there at the Capitol in Atlanta. And then once inside, obviously we've always had a great presence of Georgia State Patrol and Capitol Police inside the Capitol, walking the halls and what have you. So it's still a bit different from what the typical session will be. They've got to split up into the three areas, and the road line along the outside of the chamber has been closed off as it was during the June session when we finished up last year. So, it's still operating differently, but personally I feel safe, and we appreciate the work of law enforcement there in Atlanta being there.
Again, last week, the session got underway. The big story, of course, was the governor's State of the State address. Just want to get your thoughts on what he had to say.
Well, it was a bit of a I think it's been termed a rocky start to the session, but I think generally overall it was a good week. We were still waiting committee assignments, as I know that the Senate's already made theirs, but the House leadership is still in the process of making those decisions and office assignments. So there's still a little bit of, I'll say, disarray for some of the newer members. We're still in the Coverdale 501, which same office I had last year for the time being. So, it was still waiting on some of those decisions to be made, but it was legislatively, it was a slow week. There was a lot of bills introduced, but no committee work is taking place at this point. And as you mentioned, the governor's State of the State address was Thursday, and again, it was a bit of a different atmosphere as well, as typically the 180 House members are on the chamber floor, as well as the 56 senators come over, the Georgia Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and typically all of those individuals are down on the floor itself. But this time was a bit different. We had the Chief Judge for the Georgia Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals there, which were the only two representing the courts. And we had the Senate leadership. Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan came over, obviously. But the remaining senators were over in the Senate chamber. I understand watching it via live feed. So we didn't all pack into the House floors we normally do, but it was a bit of a different atmosphere for the governor. But I thought he did very well. The governor laid out his visions and for the amended budget, 21 budget, and of course that for the 22 budget, and really making great strides in our economy and keeping it open during a very difficult time. And a lot of that credit goes to the small business owners around our state that adjusted to the recommendations from the Department of Public Health. Were able to keep their employees employed and their doors open and continue business, although, as we said at the Eggs and Issues, many businesses had to pivot in the way that they were doing business, but they did, and they kept the doors open and continued to sustain our economy.
Big story last week was several of the representatives came down with COVID, and the House Speaker had to chastise people in the House for not wearing their mask. We're still at that point. I mean, what are we doing?
Well, I think there were a significant number of members, as the Speaker said, that had not been tested prior to our returning to Atlanta, which was requested by the Speaker that all members of the legislature be tested and have a negative test before returning. I was tested, and that, of course, was negative before we returned to Atlanta. And then the other part of what the Speaker was saying is that we are, as members, we're being tested twice weekly through a partnership with Georgia Tech and one of the health facilities in North Georgia. So we're being tested on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or either Mondays and Wednesdays, depending on the week of when we're going session. It's a bit different from the nasal swab test. It's a saliva test that each member is asked to go in and do. And apparently a significant number of them did not do that as the Speaker requested. But we are still wearing face masks and being socially distanced in the chamber, as well as up in the gallery and over in 341. So, but that will continue throughout session twice weekly. We did have several members to test positive early in the week, which they were asked to obviously quarantine and come back when they had a negative test. So those are things we continue to work through during a trying time for the legislature.
If you're just joining us, State Representative Steven Meeks on the phone with us. This is Mondays with Meeks. Education, always a big topic of the legislative session. We had a story last week. One representative, he's always talking about vouchers. Explain what vouchers are and what I know was voted down overwhelmingly a couple of years ago, but again, he's brought it back up. So explain what's going on there with the educational system.
Representative, I guess that was Representative Burt Reeves that, I'm sorry, it was... I'm drawing a blank on the member that introduced that.
Yeah, I had his name last week. I can't remember right now either.
It'll come to me in a minute.
He's from Woodstock. I know that.
Yes, or he's from Woodstock, and I can see him standing in front of me, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But the school vouchers is obviously giving an opportunity for public monies to be used for private schools. It's always been a controversial issue when coming before the legislature, and I would expect it to probably be about as controversial this year as it was in the last session. But it'll be one that we continue to talk about, given the trying times that we're having in education.
It looks like it's a battle between public education and private education, because the public school system's saying they need that money. They don't want it taken away from them. Right.
Right, exactly, and very much the debate that we hear in Atlanta. Yes, sir.
Right. Another item they had, and they just said about up in the age, 17 or something like that. Explain that.
I missed that one, Bob. Say that one more time.
They're extending the age for education. I mean, I can't remember. I need to go get my story from last week. There are three things that they were discussing.
Get your facts together, Bob.
One was increasing the age from 7 to 17 or something for school. You know,
I'm uncertain of that one.
I'll have to get back with you.
Find it, and
we talk
about that one next week.
There were three things that were discussed in education. One of those, and that one of them was to increase the age to 17 and something. I don't know what it was, but I'll go back and look at my story and get back with you. But like I said, the State of the State address looked like it went over pretty well. Looked like people were pretty much on the same page. I ask all the time, what are going to be the controversial issues? I saw where they're again discussing gambling in the state of Georgia, legalized gambling that continues to fail each and every year. Do you see that getting any traction at all?
Well, I think that'll be the one that seemingly is the most controversial right now. I'm sure as we move forward with making some adjustments to the election system, that it will become as controversial as anything else. But the legalized gambling and sports betting is one that comes up every year. And, we thought last year that we'd end up seeing it at the end of the session, and it ended up being pulled. And I guess they're going to those who are interested in that issue are going to take a look at it one more time and see if we can see if it will get through the legislative process for a vote to for the voters to vote on. But I think more than likely any revisions we make to our voting system will end up being controversial. But we need to make sure, obviously, we do it in the right way. So I would say that those will probably be the top two controversial ones at this point. And obviously, as we work our way through the budget, where does the monies flow from the state government? There's always a controversy there with ourselves and with the minority party never really agreeing with us on how that is done and what's funded and what's not. But the good thing is things are looking better at the state level for budget, and as it was mentioned, the governor has not requested any reductions in the FY22 budget. Obviously, that's still corresponding with the 10% cut we had in the FY21 budget. But things are looking better. Our numbers are strong, but we've got some challenges ahead that I know that we'll be able to meet.
Are the revenues still pretty good right now, the tax revenue for the state of Georgia, since we've done our best to try to keep business going as normal this past year?
Yes, the revenues have held very, 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 very good. A lot of that can be attributed to what is referred to as the Marketplace Facilitator Act, which we passed last session, which was a avenue for collecting online sales tax. And obviously, as we moved into a COVID-19 operating error, so to speak, that many businesses pivoted and were able to do some online shopping, etc. Other than the big box stores and your Amazons, but many other businesses pivoted to that as well. And that act was a means of collecting that online sales tax, and given the holiday season that ended up, I don't know how many times UPS came by out this way, and FedEx, but obviously a lot of shopping was done online, so that really helped those numbers there. And obviously we have to remember that with the CARES Act funding and the payments made to individuals across the country, state taxes was collected off of that as well. So we have a situation where some of those revenues are looking better, but we've also got to remember that refund season is upon us, and a lot of the money that might have come in will turn around and go back out in a form of tax refunds for Georgia citizens.
Do you feel that all taxes, state taxes, will be held where they are now or even reduced? Do we see any foreseeable future for any increases in taxes that the state legislature would handle?
I don't think we'll see any increase in state taxes at the state level. No, sir. I think we've been able to thus far through some great leadership with Chairman Terry England, and kudos to Chairman Blake Tillery, the two chairmen of the House and the Senate Appropriations Committees for being able to budget very, very responsibly as we write our bills and take into consideration our projections and the numbers that they're looking at, and really do it in a way that we can meet our obligations. And in the case of last year, I mean, we cut $2 billion, 10% of the budget in the session in June. Whenever we went by, keep in mind we had gone in earlier in the session, and the House passed a bill that looked significantly different than what ended up passing due to the pandemic that we were experiencing at the time and the adjustments that needed to be made. So we cut $2 billion from the state budget, and we did that without raising taxes.
Oh, that's good. In the state of Georgia, not being able, not having to raise taxes. I know other states throughout the country are having to. States are having to raise some sort of taxes or put some new taxes in and things of that sort because of how COVID has affected their states. And some states have really, shut down businesses. But it's good the state of Georgia is able to hold those taxes and not have to go up on them like some other states have.
Exactly. We're in good shape budgetarily, and with the good conservative fiscal policy that we continue to show every year in our spending and budget revenues. Of course, a lot of folks may or may not know. Part of the projection is using a number that the governor gives the legislature on what his projections are, and that's and working with the state economists and others. And so some of it we're working off of a projection. But, in keeping those numbers very conservative and making sure that we're meeting our obligations to our citizens, it's a challenge, and we have great leadership that helps us get there year in and year out. I don't expect this year to be any different.
All right, State Representative Steven Meeks, our special guest here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO-FM in Jessup. Bob?
Stephen, the vaccine's starting to be given out here locally and statewide. There's been some hiccups. What are you hearing about how that process is going, and how can the state help?
Well, we're in the process of doing that. Yes, you're in at this time. I think the most recent numbers, as of I guess yesterday, was 402,955 vaccines have been administered. I know the governor and his team and Department of Public Health is working very diligently on getting the vaccines out. We're I think for the month of January, we're receiving 120,000 doses per week. Of that 120,000, 40,000 of those are going to back to the federal government for long-term care facilities, nursing homes, and others that will be administered through an agreement with CVS and Walgreens. So from that perspective, we're getting the vaccines out. Healthcare workers, including I think nurses, physicians, EMTs, lab technicians, long-term care facilities, and residents, and long-term care facilities and residents, and then adults 65 years and older and their caregivers, law enforcement, volunteer firemen, etc., are now available currently to receive the vaccine. And so that's the kind phase in which we're in currently. I know there has been some angst of really understanding when and where to receive it. And I know the governor and his office is working very diligently to make sure we have the most available information out there for our citizens who are interested in receiving the vaccine. Last week, partnerships with Ingles, Publix, and Kroger were all announced as vaccine sites in Georgia.
And it was just reported on the Georgia News Network this morning that dentists can now start administering the vaccine. They've been approved to do that whenever I guess they can get those supplies.
Right, and I think what they're looking at is working with the healthcare industry in our state across all sectors, and as you mentioned, even dentists and those who have the clinical qualifications, obviously, to administer shots and vaccines, et cetera, is utilizing all healthcare professionals in all areas that we possibly can in order to do that. Obviously, we don't want to pull those individuals from the jobs that they do day in, day out. They're very important to our state. But those that we can utilize that have the clinical training, and I think that's one area which was mentioned there with dentists being able to give the vaccine as well. So they're looking for every avenue possible to make sure that we're out there doing and utilizing all avenues. I think it's very important that we do that, and Georgians across the spectrum in healthcare have stepped up to the plate day in and day out to help us out in that way.
Again, Steven Meeks with us again. Busy legislative session again with the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery. I saw the governor address the citizens arrest law. I saw where Stacey Abrams they wanted to be repealed altogether. So how do you see that playing out with that debate?
Well, and that'll likely end up being one of the controversial ones in my estimation. The governor did mention that in the state address, although I haven't seen any the language or proposal of how he wishes or a suggestion that be changed. And obviously Stacey would like to see it completely repealed, but we'll be taking a look at that. And again, we haven't seen the recommendations, but it'll be one that my guess since you mentioned it, that'll have a lot of attention as we move forward and making some revisions to that law.
With the 2020 census being done, what will the state legislature do this year in terms of redrawing the boundaries for Senate and state representatives and state senators?
Well, we're given the COVID-19 pandemic that we had, the time frame for completing that census last year was obviously delayed. From what I am hearing, it is likely to be later in the year. It's typically a summer session that is called to redraw the district lines for both congressional districts, state House, state Senate districts. What I'm hearing now is it's likely going to be the fall before those numbers are actually available to the legislatures for that process to begin. So it's probably going to be delayed slightly, depending on how quick they can get it. But I'm hearing it'll be the fall before those numbers are available for us to start working on redrawing the district lines based on the census numbers.
Okay.
Well, Steven, again, we always appreciate you being here and look forward to talking to you throughout the legislative session. You're always successful. We always give out your name, your phone number, and how people get in touch with you. A lot of people here listening may want to get in touch with you about certain items. So what's the best way people listening can get in touch with Steven Meeks during the session?
Absolutely, Bob. And Butch, I always appreciate the opportunity to call in and visit with you on Mondays. And as we get into the session, there'll be a lot more to talk about. And I always just appreciate the opportunity to represent the 178th district in the state house and the great people that we have down in this area of the state. My cell number is 912-207-0813. I invite you to reach out to me for those who may be traveling to Atlanta, to the Capitol. Although things look a lot differently with visitors these days, please give us a call and let us know how we can assist you. My Atlanta office number is 404-656-0600. 0178, and email address is steven.meeks@house.ga.gov.
Sounds good, Stephen. Again, we definitely appreciate the time. Again, stay safe, enjoy the holiday, and we'll look forward to talking to you next Monday.
Thank y'all. Same here. Appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Good luck.
All right, bye-bye, Steven. Steven Meeks, a state representative here for part of Wayne County, and we look forward to having Mondays with Meeks each Monday during the session.
And we're fortunate, like I said, we got Mondays with Meeks, Tuesdays with Tillery, Wednesdays with Worksizer, all throughout the legislative session, which always helps keep our listeners up to date with what's going on in the session. So we'll look forward to talking to State Senator Blake Tillery tomorrow. I said he's in charge of that budget like he was last year.
Right.
So he'll have more information, and he'll have all the information on the budget. But that was the big, watching the state address, the governor had mentioned that Georgia was able to, stay open. And the big thing is they didn't raise taxes last year, which, during the pandemic was, a great thing for the state of Georgia. That got the biggest ovation during the speech. So, hopefully they'll be able to do that again this year. As you mentioned, a lot of other states are with the pandemic or increasing taxes everywhere you look. So
I got a relative that lives out in Washington State, and they have just enacted, and the governor just signed out there in Washington State all kinds of new taxes. The gasoline tax have gone up. They've added a new a real estate tax when you sell property. It's just, you just cannot believe how much taxes are going up out there. Businesses have really been shut down out there, and so tax revenues are waning, and so they're looking for new ways to get more money from the citizenry out there, and they're doing it. Luckily, here in the state of Georgia, we've tried to keep things going as normal as possible, even though everybody's trying to be careful. And as Steven Meeks just said, that revenues are still looking consistent, and he foresees no tax increases here in the state of Georgia, unlike some of these other states that are having to do it. 105.5 FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country, WIFO. Well, let's talk sports, Bob. I mean, what a weekend for football. I mean, these playoff games are just exciting.
Yeah, they are. Brady wins again.
Brady wins again. I didn't realize that Drew Brees.
Turnovers. That was the
Drew Brees is not 100% back again from that injury of his. You could tell from watching the game and listening to the game that he wasn't on his 100% A game out there.
But still, he had a chance to win. They're up 20-13. They're driving. They throw the pass to the tight end. Looks like he's going to get the first down. He gets the ball stripped. They go in and tie it 20-20, and then Tampa Bay just took over from there. But 4 turnovers to none. Again, that's just a remedy for disaster.
Oh, it is. Anytime you turn the ball over that many times, most of the time you're going to lose.
But now they got to go to Lambeau Field and take on that Green Bay Packer team with Aaron Rodgers. He looks awfully tough.
He looks tough.
That'll be a great game Sunday.
Right now, Green Bay is a 4-point favorite.
I would believe it. I mean, they're going to be hard to beat in Lambeau. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is having a great year.
Well, Brady's having the last 6-7 games. He's been doing pretty good. So it's going to be a great game. You got, once again, you had Breeze and Brady. Now you're going to have Rodgers and Brady. 2 of the oldest quarterbacks in the league. Going at each other. It's going to be a great game.
It's going to be interesting if Patrick Mahomes can get back for the Sunday game.
Yeah, how bad is his concussion?
Listen to Clay Travis. He had Dr. Chow. He has on every week, gives the medical advice. He says that, the NFL and the players and coaches don't have any control over this concussion protocol.
Oh, they don't?
It's all doctors.
It's all doctors?
So they've said the best thing Mahomes can do is come back and say he didn't have a concussion, because they said if he had a concussion,
my bell wasn't rung.
They say he may not be able to play in the championship game. So that would be a big blow to Kansas City. So hopefully he'll be able to play. But
hopefully he'll be able to play.
They say we won't know till probably Friday or Saturday.
Oh, wow. That late, huh?
Yeah, and they said
now, how do they determine? Do they do a brain scan and look for any?
There's like 5 steps. Once you go into concussion protocol, there's 5 steps you have to meet to be able to get back on the playing field. So they say normally it's a 7-day process. So the question is he going to be able to get back in time for the game? So Clay Travis was saying that's going to be the $64,000 question all this week. And like they said, you won't see Patrick Holmes until Thursday or Friday.
Can he even practice?
No.
He can't practice?
No.
He can't even get out there and...
No.
Wow. Not if he's not even touched?
Can't.
Sheesh. Let me tell you, there's one excited city right now, Buffalo. I mean, they are just fired up about their team.
They played great.
They did play great. I mean, they played really good. They're exciting to watch.
Plus, they let fans in the stands. So they made a lot of noise.
It's amazing how many 10,000 fans in a stadium of the whole 60 or 70. It's amazing how much noise 10,000 fans can make.
And they had an effect too, because the Ravens jumped offside several times, and they had to delay a game. So, but once again, that interception return for 101 yards was the difference in that game. I mean, it looked like Baltimore was going to go in and tie it, and they threw the pick six. So they changed the entire game. So, but there were good ball games over the weekend. I enjoyed them. But there'll be two great games this Sunday. We'll have both of them again here on
105.5.
105.5. So.
Yeah. So we look forward to the AFC and the NFC championship games coming your way this Sunday. Both games can be heard right here on 105.5 FM. And then 2 weeks later, the Super Bowl.
I still think it'd be nice if the number one first Super Bowl, Green Bay, Kansas City, be repeated. That'd be nice. I mean, it's just historic.
I mean, there's storylines everywhere, and that's the thing about it is no matter who gets into the Super Bowl, there's a great storyline there, you know?
I want to see somebody interview Robert Kraft of New England Patriots. Where's he been? All year long, you haven't seen anybody.
I hadn't seen Kraft at all, hardly.
He had to make that decision. Does he go with his coach and say, we'll get rid of Brady, or does he want to keep his little boy Brady, who he loves? And he went with the coach, and how'd that work out? Not very well.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest stat. I mean, this is amazing.
They got to find him a quarterback.
Think about this. Tom Brady's in his 19th season. He's going to play his 14th championship game.
Isn't that amazing? That's unheard of.
That's amazing.
That is just flat out unheard of.
When he went to Tampa Bay, they said, the Super Bowl's in Tampa Bay, and here he is, one game away from getting to the Super Bowl. So.
Man, it could be a play there. It'd be a home game for him if he wins. This team wins over Green Bay this weekend.
He's phenomenal. It's unbelievable what he's doing at age 43. It's unbelievable.
Just absolutely unbelievable.
I want somebody to interview Robert Kraft and see what he thinks about Tom Brady taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the championship game.
Yeah.
And he's got Scam Newton, who he's going to get rid of this year.
He'll get rid of him. That was just a Band-Aid for this year.
But who are they going to get?
I don't know. I have no idea. And you said the Falcons have a new head coach.
Yeah, they got the Titans offense coordinator, which is good man, Arthur Smith. They said he just wowed them. They did interview Eric Bieniemy. That's the amazing thing. Everybody said Eric Bieniemy's number one candidate, and he's interviewed all these places. He hasn't got a job yet, so I don't understand what the issue is.
Heaven knows. All right, but it's good the Falcons have got a good head coach, and hopefully they can move forward. The Jaguars got their new head coach. I guess have all the positions been filled yet? I think there's about 7 of them.
I think there's 1 or 2 still have to be filled. Yeah.
Okay.
I think 4 or 5 of the 7 have got new coaches already. So.
Okay. And what about locally with sports? What's going on with Wayne County in terms of basketball and any other winter sports?
Girls basketball team won Saturday. Big game over Pierce County, 43-40. A.J. Jefferson had a career-high 30 points. They named the all-region team. Wayne County had several players on the all-region football team. And wrestling team's doing well. They're moving on.
So everything's moving on as normal there when it comes to the Wayne County High School.
The only thing that's been shut down is the boys basketball team. They should get back in action this week.
Sometime this week. Okay. All right. Just checking, Bob. All right, Bob. Anything else?
That's
all right.
it.
Have a good day. World famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply, First Southern Bank, Local Boys Construction, and Damon's Famous Fingers and Wings.
The world famous Butch and Bob Show.